What's up, Taiwan? I'm Louise with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. It's International Labour Day, and in Taiwan, thousands of workers are taking to the streets calling for better workplace rights and protections. Let's go now to the presidential office. Our reporter Tiffany Wong is outside there with demonstrators. Tiffany, what are these workers calling for?
Hi, Louise. Thousands of workers representing dozens of labor unions are spending their May 1st Labor Day here at Kettle Boulevard in front of the presidential office, and they've just set off to march towards the legislature. They're workers from the manufacturing, education, banking, and medical industries, and they're all calling for better protections in the Labor Standards Act, including more flexible time off, more national holidays, and even 4-day work weeks. Now, it's notable that even today, Labor Day is a public holiday, but not all workers actually have the day off. And in 2023, Taiwanese workers ranked 5th worldwide for the longest working hours compared to other developed countries. And analysts say that that could be because they're trying to make up for low salaries. So people here are also calling for better compensation. And some of the service workers I spoke with earlier today, including those in the healthcare and childcare industries, say that working long hours could affect the quality of their care and their work. People here are also calling for anti-bullying protections in the workplace, and Taiwan does not have any legislation protecting that right now, and they're seeking especially avenues for reporting these incidents when there's like a hostile work environment. And according to the latest poll, over 70% of Taiwanese workers have experienced bullying in the workplace before.
And Tiffany, how is the government responding to these demands and concerns?
Well, earlier today at a cabinet meeting, the head of the Occupational Safety and Health Administration came out with a list of improvements that the government is aiming to make. Those include better occupational hazard protections and channels for reporting workplace bullying incidents, especially when they involve higher-ups, and standardizing the investigative procedures when those incidents are reported.
透过这次职场霸凌的法制化，我们希望要求企业能更加重视，然后积极预防，那提供劳工申诉管道，保障劳工的权益，以营造友善的职场。
Taiwan has made strides with labor rights in recent years, including improvements to the national holiday schedule for workers. But with high-profile workplace bullying incidents, including those in the Ministry of Labor itself, have people out here calling for more action.
Thanks, Tiffany, for that update. That was Tiffany Wong, live for us in Taipei. To better understand why workplace bullying is being prioritized at this year's Labor Day demonstration, John Van Trieste spoke to labor activist Zhu Zheyu.
A special focus of this year's Labor Day demonstration is ending workplace bullying. That's because last year Taiwan was shocked when a civil servant committed suicide after alleged bullying at work. Do you think that overall bullying is a big problem in Taiwan's workplaces, and why do you think that is?
因为政府在过去其实并不会直接的去介入所有的霸凌的案件。那所以对于工会这边来讲，或者是在这个公务部门来说，霸凌的这个状况其实应该蛮常发生的。对，那就我们所接到的案件里面，包含说言语的霸凌啊，或者是在性别上，或透过工作条件上面的霸凌。比如说对于你的这个工作的训练的机会，或者是对于你的工作的位置的频繁的调整，这些都有可能构成这个霸凌的状况。
There's a peculiarity about Taiwan that seems to leave civil servants especially vulnerable to issues like bullying, and that's the fact they can't form unions and their negotiating options are limited when they run into trouble. How does that factor in?
在过去这个马英九政府时期，我们有通过这个国内的我们有通过这个国际人权的2公约。那2公约里面当时就有提到说，对于要去争取权益的部分，应该要可以允许他们组织工会。那当时那个政府所做出来的这个应对措施，它就是在各地成立很多我们叫公务人员的协会。但是这些协会本身其实并没有任何协商权，以及对于我们要进行劳资争议， 的部分，或者是甚至走到最后要进行罢工的部分，也都没有很明确的，也都是禁止。
Now, there have been proposals to change some laws since the suicide last year, but have you seen the government taking any concrete action to address the problem? And what do you want the government to do going forward?
如果是一般劳工的话，那在治安法里面确实这个劳动部有提出修法的版本，但是正如我刚刚所说的，这个修法的版本其实它还是有缺漏的，包含说，如果单纯只有最高负责人参与，就是有这个霸凌的这个状况被申诉的时候，才会交由这个劳动局，就劳动主管机关进行调查这件事情。那公务部门的部分就更不用谈了，现在基本上是零，就是进度几乎是零啦。那国家要做的方向其实就是希望说，那我从公务机关相关的法令下手。
That was Labour activist Zhu Zhiyu speaking about this year's Labour Day protest. A Taipei nanny has pleaded guilty to charges related to an infant's death. The woman, surnamed Liu, is the elder of two sisters involved in the high-profile case that resulted in the death of one-year-old Kai Kai. Liu said she lost patience with the child and could not cope with his care. She has admitted to causing injury and neglect and failing to feed him, leading to malnutrition. Liu said she regrets her actions. A verdict is expected by May the 13th. Taiwanese lawmakers visiting Washington say they've talked with US lawmakers about everything from trade to defense spending. The visit comes at a key moment as Taiwan and other countries use a 90-day pause in US tariffs to push negotiations forward. Joy Sung has the latest.
Taiwan lawmakers make progress on the Hill, meeting with U.S. senators and representatives in Washington, D.C., as Taipei looks to strengthen ties with its largest international backer. In the background, ongoing negotiations led by a different Taipei team to avoid steep U.S. tariffs. This bipartisan legislative group looking to relieve pressure on other issues that's weighed on Taiwan-U.S. trade, like the problem of double taxation.
避免双重课税的问题，因为这个也涉及到我们接下来跟美方之间的谈判，还有如果说希望有更多的这些到美国投资的这些项目或者厂商。
Before Donald Trump took office in January, the U.S. House of Representatives passed a bill to cut taxes on Taiwanese businesses and employees in the United States, easing the burden of being taxed in both countries. Taiwan praised the move. The bill is now in the hands of the Senate to approve, paving the way for the U.S. president to sign it into law. The delegation is looking to keep up the momentum behind the bill at a time of a changing world order under Trump. Some American lawmakers, too, are working to retain long-standing bipartisan support for Taiwan.
It's important we have strong relations with Taiwan and the military there. That's a hugely important trade corridor, the Straits of Taiwan. So it's important we maintain strong relations, and that's what we're going to do.
But Taiwan has been rattled by some of the Trump administration's demands, like a call for Taipei to raise its defense spending to 10% of GDP, a rate Premier Zhou Rongtai says is impossible. In D.C., ruling Democratic Progressive Party lawmaker Wang Dingyu hopes to show his U.S. counterparts that the defense budget has increased, with an aim to spend over 3% of GDP.
我们刚才沟通了一些，不管是避免双重课税，现在在参议院最后一里路啊，那以及台美之间军购的议题，以及台美合作训练的议题。
The cross-party delegation has also met with leading think tanks, the Hudson Institute and Heritage Foundation, and the U.S.-Taiwan Business Council, making the most out of their week in the U.S.'s political center. Scott Huang and Joyce Sun for TaiwanPlus.
The US economy has slowed, with GDP shrinking in the first quarter, according to government data. The reason? Some economists are pointing to President Donald Trump's tariff plan. But as Chris Gorin now reports, he's defending it.
Donald Trump on his 100th day in office, pushing back against new government numbers showing the U.S. economy may be shrinking.
In the first quarter GDP numbers just out today, core GDP, now we're removing distortions from imports, inventories, and government spending was up plus 3%. But this is Biden's economy because we took over on January 20th.
Trump claims growth while blaming his predecessor for data showing that U.S. GDP fell 0.3% in the first quarter of 2025, the first time the country has seen negative growth in 3 years. The discrepancy between the numbers rooted in how government data is counted, which Trump calls distortions. Imports surged in the first quarter, and because they're made overseas, the government subtracts them from U.S. GDP. The large increase coming from businesses rushing to import items ahead of Trump's proposed tariffs, which have sent markets tumbling since they were announced last month. Despite celebrating stock market gains in his first term, Trump now downplaying his effect on them.
Yeah, I'm not taking credit or discredit for the stock market. I'm just saying that we inherited a mess. In my case, I had the biggest stock market increase, 88% in the last term, in my last term. But I don't view the stock market as the end all. It's an indicator.
Trump also downplaying the effects his 145% tariffs on Chinese imports have on U.S. consumers.
Much of it we don't need. You know, somebody said, oh, the shelves are going to be open. Well, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, you know? And maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. But we're not talking about something that we have to go out of our way.
But Americans may not agree, with recent polls showing his overall approval rating dropping, with his handling of the economy being particularly low, with only 36% approving. Trump says he's making deals with U.S. and foreign companies to boost investment, saying the economy will bounce back. But for now, with weak economic numbers and slipping poll support, he's on the defensive. Eason Chun and Chris Gorin for TaiwanPlus.
Washington and Kyiv have signed an agreement to invest in Ukraine's reconstruction after months of negotiations. A draft of a minerals deal included in the agreement, seen by Reuters, said the US would get preferential access to natural resource deals with Ukraine. But it falls short of giving the US an outright share of Ukraine's mineral wealth or any of its gas infrastructure. The Joint Reconstruction Fund will receive half of profits that Ukraine gets from new natural resource permits granted in the country. The US Senate has voted in a former business executive as the country's new ambassador to China.
The nomination is confirmed.
David Purdue takes on the role as a trade war between the two countries starts to bite. He served one term as a Republican senator until 2021 and previously lived in Hong Kong. In 2018, as a senator, he visited Taiwan and met then-President Tsai Ing-wen. During his confirmation hearing in April, he said he supported a peaceful resolution of tensions between Beijing and Taipei that would be acceptable to both sides. A retired Navy official says flooding on Taiwan's domestically built Haikun submarine is delaying sea trials. Former Navy Captain Guo Shi said on a live stream that multiple pieces of equipment were malfunctioning and are being repaired. Taiwan's Navy has declined to comment on his claims, but says the submarine is undergoing further testing ahead of trials. Defense experts say some water leakage is expected during the testing and trial process.
目前进行的这个暗测的部分那要模拟这个水下的受压的情况，那可能因为这样子会有一些破裂进水的状况。
Taiwan's opposition Kuomintang says approval for further submarine projects will depend on the success of the Haikun. Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, we take you to Paris, where a restored Cambodian statue is being shown for the first time. I'm Louise Watt. Take care. I'll see you next time.